What's going on, guys? And today we are going to be doing part 2 of 3 of worst trades by Leafs general managers, but this time we are ranking the worst trades from 10 to 6. Let's get started. Number 10, interim, Fletcher. Here's the trade. The Leafs acquire Lee Stempniak. The Blues acquire Carlo Colavaccio and Alexander Steen. Let's first talk about the Leafs side. Lee Stempniak played a lot of years in the NHL with many teams, but he did play 2 years with the Maple Leafs, played over 120 games, and had over 60 points. That's okay. While the Blues got Carlo Colavaccio, who played over 400 games in the NHL and was a pretty good defenseman in the NHL, and they got Alexander Steen, who played 12 more years with the Blues and won a cup with the Blues in 2019. This trade was bad, but don't worry. Fletcher will be back, and he'll be back with a bang. Number 9, Gord, Stellick. Here's the trade. The Leafs acquire John Kordic and a 6th-round pick. The Canadians acquire Russ Cornell. Let's first talk about the Leafs side. John Kordic was an enforcer. He played 3 years with the Maple Leafs, played over 100 games, had 13 points, and almost 400 minutes in penalties. The 6th-round pick the Leafs got, he didn't play a single game in the NHL. So, they just really got John Kordic, the enforcer, while the Canadians got Russ Cornell, who was a great player. He played over 1,000 games in the NHL, had over 700 points, and after being traded by the Maple Leafs, he played another 13 years in the NHL. While John Kordic played, after playing with the Leafs, he only played a couple more seasons. Gord Stellick decided to trade skill for toughness, and it didn't work out. That's why this is a bad deal. Number 8, Pat Quinn. Let's look at the trade. The Leafs acquired Owen Nolan. The Sharks acquired Brad Boyes, Alan McCulley, and a first-round pick. Let's first talk about Owen Nolan and how the Leafs were trying to go all in to try and win a championship and try and win a Stanley Cup for the first time in a while, and they thought Owen Nolan could get them over the hump. Owen Nolan was a great player. He played 1,200 games, had over 850 points, had over 400 goals, but when the Leafs acquired him, he was on the back end of his career. So he only played 2 seasons with the Leafs, had played 79 games, had 60 points, which is good, but again, you traded a lot, and sadly, in the playoffs, they only played 7 games. He only played 7 games in the playoffs, so he wasn't that X factor to get them to a championship. But the Sharks got a good haul for him. Brad Boyes played a long NHL career, only played 1 game with the San Jose Sharks, but then after that, played over 800 games in the NHL, and funny enough, last year in the NHL, he played with the Toronto Maple Leafs, coming full circle. While Alvin McCulley, a great playoff performer with the Toronto Maple Leafs, getting traded to the Sharks, he was a serviceable center, played over 400 games, had over 150 points. That's not bad. Again, played a long time in the NHL. While the first-round pick turned out to be Mark Stewart, a good defensive defenseman who played over 650 games in the NHL. As you can see, this trading for Owen Nolan backfired, as 2 of the 3 played over 600 games in the NHL. So, when teams this year are going all in, they are taking the risk, but this trade backfired and was a bad deal. Number 7, Imlach. Let's look at the trade. The Leafs acquire Pat Hickey and Wolf Paymont. The Rockies acquire Lanny McDonald and Joe Quenneville. We're not talking about the Leafs side. Wolf Paymont did pretty good for his short tenure with the Leafs. Pat Hickey played over 800 games in the NHL. Joe Quenneville played a long time in the NHL. The person we're focusing on here is Lanny McDonald. The Leafs traded Lanny McDonald because the Punch Imlach couldn't trade Daryl Sittler because he had a no-move clause. So he decided to trade Lanny McDonald instead. Lanny McDonald played over 1,100 games in the NHL, has scored 500 goals, and had over 1,000 points. Won a cup with the Calgary Flames in his last year in the NHL, and scored over 60 goals with the Calgary Flames. The Leafs traded him in his prime, and this also, after this trade caused a ripple effect, causing Daryl Sittler to cut the C off his jersey, and a couple years later, Daryl Sittler leaving. This trade wouldn't have happened if they had good management or good ownership. Punch Imlach, this was a horrible trade, but don't worry, he'll be back, and the trade he makes is even worse. Number 6, Jim Gregory. Let's look at the trade. The Leafs acquired a first-round pick in future considerations for a second-round pick and the rights to Bernie Parent. Jim Gregory was forced to make this trade because of the WHA and Harold Ballard not wanting to pay his players enough, so Bernie Parent wanted to go back to the Flyers, which caused this trade to happen. The first round pick the Leafs got was Bob Neely. He played over 250 games, only had 98 points. He did all right. They got actually 2 guys from future considerations. Doug Farrell, who played 3 seasons with the Toronto Maple Leafs as a goalie. He did all right, and Willie Brosper only played 21 games with the Leafs. So that really wasn't much compared to what the Flyers got. The second round pick the Flyers got, they selected Larry Goodenough, who in the regular season only had played 242 games and had 99 points, but in the playoffs, he had 22 playoff games, he had 18 points, almost a point per game in the playoffs. So already better value there than what they got, what the Leafs got for already. But then you add on Bernie Parent. Bernie Parent, the best goalie in franchise history, a Hall of Famer, a goalie who won 2 Vezinas and 2 Conn Smythe trophies, and backstopped the Flyers to the Stanley Cup. This trade wasn't good enough, not good at all, a bad trade. So here are the terrible trades, 6 to 10 by each general manager in order. Every single one of these trades affected the Leafs then and in the future negatively. So, there you have it. Those are trades 10 to 6 of ranking the worst trades in Leafs history. Thank you for listening. Please let me know what you think, and please listen to part 3 of the 5 worst trades by general managers in Maple Leafs history. Have a great day, and see you in the next video.